Most men's fashion brands sell you a logo and call it quality. 10 of them are doing it right now, and I'll show you exactly how. But 4 brands are actually different. Genuinely better materials, better construction, better value. You'll want to know which side your wardrobe is on. Number 10, Lacoste. Lacoste opens this list because it represents the entry point to logo-driven pricing in a way that catches men who consider themselves too smart to fall for obvious brand traps. The crocodile is small, the shirt looks simple, the price feels almost reasonable at $70 to $90 for a polo. That reasonableness is the trap. The actual cost to manufacture a Lacoste polo, including fabric, labor, trims, and freight, runs between $4.50 and $14, depending on the country of production. And that variation in production cost is the first problem. Lacoste sources from at least 8 different countries simultaneously, each operating to its own standards for fabric weight, stitching tension, and finishing quality. 2 polo shirts bought on the same day for the same $85 price tag may have been sewn in radically different facilities under radically different quality controls. One might come from a European factory with direct oversight, another might come from a lower-cost facility where shortcuts are routine. The price tag never changes. The crocodile never changes. What you actually get is a gamble you don't know you're taking until the shirt pills after 4 washes. Menswear, the parent company, captures the profit from this opacity by banking on the fact that most buyers will not check the care label country of origin or connect it to the quality inconsistency they experienced 6 months after purchase. The brand's marketing budget is significant. Its transparency budget is essentially zero. At Lacoste, paying for the logo means paying the same price for a product that might be decent or might fall apart, and you will not know which one you bought until it is too late to return it. Number 9, DKNY. DKNY is what happens when a designer leaves and the licensing machine keeps running without them. The brand was built on Donna Karan's specific vision for New York style, a sensibility rooted in real design thinking and a coherent aesthetic that gave the label genuine identity. When Donna Karan departed, that identity left with her. What remained was a trademark, a logo, and a licensing agreement. Today's DKNY shirts are produced almost entirely under G3 Apparel Group, a licensing conglomerate with manufacturing split across factories in China, Cambodia, and Vietnam. There is no in-house design atelier. There is no continuous creative oversight from someone who cares about the product as a product rather than as a revenue-generating asset attached to a recognizable name. Creative decisions are made by a licensing operation whose primary interest is margin, not craft. Retail prices for a standard DKNY shirt hover between $85 and $120. The landed cost per unit sits around $12. G3 adds its own markup before selling to retailers, and the remaining price is absorbed by royalty fees paid to the trademark owner and the retail infrastructure required to move product at this tier of the market. The consumer at the end of this chain is paying for a name that no longer has a person behind it, a logo attached to a product assembled by a company that had no connection to the original brand's identity and no incentive to honor it. What you are buying is nostalgia for something that no longer exists in any form that touches what you are actually wearing. Number 8, Michael Kors. Michael Kors markets itself as accessible luxury, a phrase that functions as one of the most effective pieces of misdirection in the fashion industry. Accessible and luxury are not a sliding scale. They are opposing forces. When you optimize for accessibility, meaning broad retail distribution and competitive pricing, you compress the cost of goods. When you compress the cost of goods, you remove what luxury actually requires: exceptional materials, careful construction, and the time and labor that genuine quality demands. Michael Kors chose accessibility. The luxury is the label. The most egregious example in the product line is the leather goods. Belts and bags from Michael Kors frequently use bonded leather, a material produced by pressing leather fiber scraps together with polyurethane and coating the surface to mimic the appearance of full-grain hide. These belts retail for $80 to $110. The actual material and production cost falls between $1 and $3. That alone represents one of the most aggressive markups on this list. But the problem is not just the ratio, it is what the material does over time. Bonded leather is structurally unstable. The polyurethane coating that gives it the appearance of real leather begins to separate from the fiber base within 2 to 4 years, cracking and peeling at stress points like the buckle fold first and then spreading outward. You are not buying a leather belt that will last a decade and develop a patina. You are buying a disposable accessory engineered to look premium in the store and fall apart at home. At $90 for something that costs $2 to make and lasts 3 years, Michael Kors is not offering accessible luxury. It is offering expensive disposability dressed up in a dust bag. Number 7. Diesel. Diesel has spent 30 years building a brand identity around Italian artistry, rebellious energy, and the idea that its denim occupies a different category from ordinary jeans. The numbers behind that identity tell a completely different story, and they are not subtle about it. Retail prices for diesel jeans land between $120 and $200. The actual manufacturing cost ranges from $6 to $30, depending on the style and wash treatment. Only a small fraction of the total production line comes out of Italy. The bulk is manufactured in factories in Tunisia and Turkey, where labor costs are significantly lower, and the connection to Italian denim craft is limited to the label sewn inside the waistband. The wash treatments that Diesel highlights as markers of artisanal character, the distressing, the fading, the abrading, add a few dollars to the production cost at most. They are then presented as evidence of craftsmanship to justify a price that the underlying fabric and construction cannot support independently. OTB Group, Diesel's parent company, captures the premium by wrapping commodity denim in a narrative of Italian rebel culture and charging the price that narrative commands rather than the price the product deserves. The denim itself is mid-grade at best. The construction is standard. The wash treatments are industrial processes applied at scale. What you're buying when you spend $150 on a pair of Diesel jeans is a story about rebellion and Italian heritage that was largely fictional even during the brand's peak years and has grown more detached from reality every year since. Number 6. Armani Exchange. Armani Exchange exists to extract value from a name without delivering what that name originally stood for. The Armani brand hierarchy runs from Giorgio Armani at the top through Emporio Armani in the middle, down to Armani Exchange at the base. Each tier is supposed to represent a different level of accessibility while maintaining some connection to the quality and design philosophy of the house above it. Armani Exchange maintains the name and drops everything else. A basic Armani Exchange tee retails for $60 to $90. The construction is a mid-weight jersey, sourced through mass production contracts with no meaningful connection to Italian tailoring, luxury-grade materials, or the design standards of the Giorgio Armani atelier. The fabric is a polyester viscose blend, a combination chosen for its cost and its ability to hold a smooth surface appearance in the store, not for its durability, breathability, or wearing comfort over time. The manufacturing cost sits around $12. The markup to retail is nearly 10 times. What makes this entry particularly worth understanding is the deliberate positioning of the brand within the Armani name hierarchy. Buyers purchasing Armani Exchange are almost never under the illusion that they are buying Giorgio Armani. They know it is the accessible tier, but the Armani name still carries an implied quality floor that the product consistently fails to meet. You are not getting entry-level luxury. You are getting mid-market casual wear, at a price inflated by association with a name whose top tier has almost no bearing on what you are actually buying. The logo is the bridge between what the brand charges and what the product is worth, and that bridge only exists in the buyer's mind. Number 5. Coach. Coach built its original reputation on genuine American leather craft. The brand's early decades were defined by tightly constructed bags made from glove-tanned cowhide in a New York factory where the construction standard was verifiable and the materials were real. That history is the asset the brand has been liquidating ever since it shifted its business model toward mass-market accessible luxury in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Today, a simple Coach wallet or belt priced between $90 and $140 at retail is produced in factories across Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines, and Indonesia. These are regions selected for their manufacturing cost, not for any artisanal leather tradition. The materials in the majority of the current product range are coated canvas or processed leather that bears little resemblance to the full-grain hides the brand built its name on. The Coach logo stamped prominently on the front of the product is doing work that the material underneath it cannot do independently. The brand's warranty program, which receives significant marketing attention, is designed to manage perceptions of quality rather than reflect genuine confidence in the product's durability. A warranty that covers manufacturing defects for a product made from coated canvas is not a quality signal. It is a risk management tool. The manufacturing cost estimates for these small leather goods represent a fraction of the retail price, and the gap between that fraction and what you pay at the register is filled almost entirely by brand equity built on a manufacturing standard the current product line abandoned decades ago. You are paying for a history that no longer lives in what you are holding. Number 4. Banana Republic. Banana Republic is one of the most instructive entries on this list because the deception here is not about a luxury price tag on a budget product. It is about a mid-market price premium on a product with no measurable advantage over the lower-tier brand sitting on the shelf next to it in the same corporate family. Gap Inc. owns both Gap and Banana Republic. The brands share sourcing infrastructure, manufacturing relationships, and in many cases the same contracted production facilities. Banana Republic prices run 30 to 60% higher than comparable Gap pieces. The fabric specifications at Banana Republic are supposed to justify that premium with lighter weight linings, finer weaves, and more considered construction. In practice, longtime customers and independent reviewers consistently report the opposite. Sweaters pill. Chinos arrive unlined and lighter than the same style sold in previous seasons. The parent company's gross margin at Banana Republic hovers around 47 to 49%, nearly identical to the lower-tier brands in the same portfolio. The premium you pay for Banana Republic is not funding better fabric. It is funding a positioning exercise designed to capture spending from men who have graduated from Gap but are not ready to spend on genuinely premium alternatives. The brand occupies a price point that implies quality without delivering it, sustained by retail environments designed to feel more considered than the Gap next door. Once you know the gross margins are identical, the positioning falls apart entirely. You are paying more for the same thing in a quieter store. Number 3. Zara. Zara's business model is one of the most sophisticated in retail history and one of the most consequential for any man trying to build a wardrobe that holds up over time. The brand's vertical supply chain gives it the ability to move a trend from runway observation to store floor in 2 to 3 weeks, a speed that no traditionally structured competitor can match. That speed is presented as a service to the consumer. In practice, it is a mechanism for generating perpetual demand at the expense of the buyer's wallet and closet. Men's blazers at Zara retail for $90 to $150. The bill of materials runs $8 to $15. Inditex, Zara's parent company, maintains a gross margin of 55 to 58% across the brand. That margin is protected by a scarcity model built on limited production batches and fast sellouts designed to create urgency. When an item sells out, Zara does not restock it. A new item takes its place in the next micro-collection cycle. The consumer who missed the first item buys the next one because the window for the original has closed. This is not fashion service. It is engineered FOMO, applied at industrial scale. The construction consequences are visible in the product. Zara blazers use fused interlining as standard. The linings are lightweight, the stitching is adequate rather than durable. A $120 Zara blazer is built to look good on a hanger in the store for the 3 weeks it takes to sell and to survive the first season of wear before the construction begins to show its limits. That is exactly as long as it needs to last for Zara's business model to function. Your need to replace it next season is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Number 2, Gucci. Gucci sits at number 2 because it commits the most expensive version of the same crime as every brand above it, and it does so with a confidence and cultural authority that makes the transaction feel legitimate in a way that makes the numbers even harder to accept when you actually look at them. A basic Gucci graphic tee retails between $400 and $700. The fabric is standard 190 to 220 gram cotton jersey sourced from Italian mills. The cotton is good. Italian mill sourcing is a real quality indicator at the fabric level, but the cost of goods on a basic Gucci tee, including the Italian fabric, the embroidery or print, and the production labor, sits between $18 and $40. The markup to retail ranges from 12 to 25 times the manufacturing cost, depending on the style. On a t-shirt, the tailored pieces compound the problem. Entry and mid-level Gucci suits use fused construction, despite the brand's positioning as an Italian luxury house with roots in craft and tradition. The house's genuine craftsmanship, which does exist at its highest tiers, is used to lend credibility to a product range that extends far below those standards while maintaining prices that imply the opposite. Kering, Gucci's parent company, posted a gross margin above 70% for years running on this formula. What keeps Gucci at number 2 rather than first is the honest acknowledgement that at its absolute top tier, the brand produces garments that justify a significant premium. That craft exists. It is real, but it is inaccessible to the vast majority of buyers engaging with the brand, and it has no bearing on the products most of them are actually purchasing. The Gucci name covers an enormous range of quality, and the price distribution does not reflect that range honestly. You are paying top-tier prices across a product line where only a fraction of what is sold merits them. Number 1, Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss takes the top position on this list not because its markups are the highest or its materials are the worst, though both are significant. It earns first place because it executes the most complete and systematic version of the deception this entire list is built around. It charges luxury prices, uses luxury positioning, operates luxury retail environments, and delivers a product built to budget construction standards. And it does this in the category tailored clothing, where the gap between what the price implies and what the construction delivers has the most direct impact on the buyer. A Hugo Boss suit, retailing between $500 and $800, arrives in a garment bag in a retail environment designed to feel like a premium experience. The sales presentation, the fitting room, the packaging, all of it signals quality. Then you look at what is holding the jacket together: fused interlining, an adhesive layer bonding the outer fabric to the lining without any floating canvas structure. The same construction method used in suits selling for $150 at mid-market retailers, applied to a garment priced as though it were built by a tailor. Fused interlining is not just cheaper than canvas construction. It produces a fundamentally inferior result that worsens over time in a way that canvas construction does not. A canvas jacket molds to the wearer's body progressively through heat and movement, improving in drape and fit the more it is worn. A fused jacket does the opposite. The adhesive that gives it its initial shape is degraded by heat, dry cleaning, and the mechanical stress of regular wear. Within 2 to 4 years, the glue weakens. The outer fabric begins to separate from the lining. Bubbling appears across the chest and lapels. The shape that looked sharp in the store is gone, and it cannot be restored because the structural problem is baked into the construction. Hugo Boss's gross margin for the final quarter of 2024 was 62.4%. The majority of its manufacturing is outsourced to lower-cost contracted facilities in Eastern Europe and Asia. The brand's own financial disclosures confirm what teardown reports and consumer complaints have documented for years. There is no craft hiding behind the label. There is no premium material specification that justifies the retail price. There is a sophisticated brand machine running a heritage narrative over a product built to margins that have nothing to do with the story being told. The reason Hugo Boss sits above Gucci on this list comes down to one specific distinction. Gucci's deception is transparently a luxury brand charging for its name. Most men who spend $500 on a Gucci tee understand at some level that they are paying for the logo. The transaction is at least honest about what it is. Hugo Boss presents itself as tailoring. It invites comparison to craft. It places itself in fitting rooms staffed by people using tailoring language to describe a product that has almost no tailoring in it. That act of misrepresentation of category is the most complete version of the ripoff, and it earns Hugo Boss the top position on this list without any serious competition. Now, the 4 that are actually worth your money. Worth it, number 4, Uniqlo. Uniqlo earns its place on the right side of this list through transparency and consistency at a price point where almost no other brand at its scale bothers with either. Every product page lists precise fabric composition, not a vague material description, but the actual fiber content, weight, and in premium lines, the specific certification or mill origin behind it. The Supima cotton tee discloses the licensed use of certified American-grown Supima fiber. The merino wool products list the micron count. These are measurable material claims that can be independently verified, not marketing language dressed up as specification. The markup sits at 3 to 4 times the production cost across most of the line. Compare that to Lacoste, Calvin Klein, or Hugo Boss, and the ratio tells you everything. Uniqlo is a mass market brand with global scale, and it uses that scale to drive material quality rather than to inflate margins. The value at the basics level, t-shirts, Oxford shirts, chinos, outerwear, is consistent and honest in a way that makes it the rational starting point for any man building a functional wardrobe without burning money on brand overhead. Worth it. Number 3, Suit Supply. Suit Supply does what no other brand at its price point does in tailoring. It tells you the construction method on the product page before you buy. Half canvas or full canvas stated clearly with the Italian mill fabric source named alongside it. That disclosure is the foundation of an honest transaction in tailored clothing because construction method is the single most important factor in how a suit jacket behaves over time, and almost no other brand at any price will tell you what method they used without you specifically asking and knowing enough to ask the right question. Half canvas suits at $400 to $700 using Zegna or Piacenza fabrics sold direct to the consumer without the retail and licensing layers that add $500 to $800 at department stores. The markup sits around 2 to 3 times the landed cost. The product improves with wear rather than deteriorating. The fabric sources are real. The construction method is documented. In tailoring, this combination is almost impossible to find at this price, and Suit Supply has been delivering it consistently for long enough that the track record is verifiable rather than theoretical. Worth it. Number 2, Gustin. Gustin's pre-order model is the structural answer to every brand on the wrong side of this list. By refusing to produce anything until enough buyers have committed to purchasing it, The brand eliminates inventory risk, warehousing overhead, unsold stock write-downs, and the advertising budget required to manufacture demand for products that were never pre-validated by real buyers. Every dollar saved from removing those cost structures goes directly into the material quality of what gets made. Japanese selvage denim jeans sewn in the United States for under $100. Each campaign discloses the mill name, the fabric weight, and the country of manufacture before the buyer commits. The markup reflects production cost and a sustainable operating margin, not brand overhead. For men willing to wait the few weeks between campaign funding and product delivery, Gustin offers a material and construction quality that the brands on the wrong side of this list charge 2 to 3 times as much to approximate and usually fail to match even at those prices. Worth it! Number 1, Darn Tough Vermont. Darn Tough sits at the top of the right side of this list for the same reason it earns the top position on every honest ranking of men's fashion value. The unconditional lifetime guarantee is not a marketing promise. It is a financial commitment that only makes business sense if the product is built well enough to almost never fail. Every pair is knit at the Cabot Hosiery Mill in Northfield, Vermont. No outsourcing, no offshore production, no contracted facilities operating to their own cost targets. The high-density merino blend with seamless, ring-stitched construction is the result of every quality decision being made internally by people whose financial interest is in the product lasting as long as possible. Because every replacement under the guarantee costs the company money. The incentive structure at Darn Tough is the exact opposite of every brand on the wrong side of this list. Where Hugo Boss profits from products that fail on schedule and need replacing, Darn Tough loses money every time a product fails. That difference in incentive structure is the most honest quality signal in men's fashion. At $20 to $30 a pair against a lifetime replacement guarantee, Darn Tough socks are mathematically cheaper over 5 years than department store alternatives that need annual replacement. The more expensive product is the cheaper long-term decision. That is what honest pricing backed by genuine construction actually looks like. Every brand on the wrong side of this list should study it, but none of them will because their business models depend on you not running the numbers.